Thank you. Well, it's my pleasure to be here with you and to call this meeting the annual Congregational Budget. And
as if you were signing on for us the Sunday.
We have exceeded a quorum, which is a very good thing. It shows that there's a lot of interest, and we look forward to fruitful discussion and of course, getting the votes we need to continue to do business. I know it's perhaps a little disconcerting to talk in church about business, but we are a 501c3 religious organization. We are governed by the laws of the state of New Mexico, and so we do need to conduct some business. I hope that it will all go well. I have one thing I'd like to do before I call on Reverend Dr. Kachela to light the chalice, and that is at our question and answer sessions, we've established a practice of reading our right relations covenant. It sets the tone, and hopefully this will be things that are meaningful to you as well as to me. Our right relations covenant. We, the members and friends of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces, in order to create a community of loving kindness, which fosters individual and community growth and promotes the dignity and self-worth of all individuals, do affirm and covenant to interact with each other with openness, honesty, respect, patience, sensitivity, and compassion. Toward this end, we agree to listen with an open mind, seeking to understand and empathize with each other while embracing our diversity and differences. To be clear in communications, reflecting before responding, and requesting and providing clarification when needed. To remain engaged during discussions and place the well-being of the community above disagreement. To endeavor to understand the behaviors, needs, and limitations of ourselves and others. To acknowledge the right to express opinions freely, seeking to be constructive by making sure our communications are true and expressed in a kind and helpful manner. To give and receive forgiveness and respect. Give and receive. I always want to say we're giving respect. I guess we are. To give and receive forgiveness and respect the confidentiality of personal information that may be shared with us. To inform ourselves regarding church processes and communications and accept the responsibilities of membership in this community. By committing ourselves to this covenant, we shall build an environment of trust that promotes free and responsible discussion of ideas while cultivating an atmosphere of joy and celebration in our church community. Dr. Kachela, would you provide our words for the chalice lighting, please? I'll move my stuff.
The words for the chalice lighting are from San Juan de la Cruz, Comunidad de Taize. In Spanish, it reads, oh, el alma que anda en amor, ni cansa, ni se cansa, el cansa. That translates to, the soul that is in love never gets weary. We'll light our chalice in the name of love and strength for this meeting this afternoon.
All right. The first order of business, I actually think it works better if you don't mind my taking the mask off. The first order of business is a request for a vote to approve an amendment to our bylaws. Do I have a motion on the floor? Susan Bagby? We were going to do this, weren't we, Michaela? We were going to move this so that people could speak. If you have a motion, if you have a statement, this way the people on Zoom will hear you. Whereas if you say it here, there's a good chance they won't. So is it on, or can you turn it on as people come up? So Susan, if you wouldn't mind coming in to make that motion. It's all right.
This is far to go.
Is it? Okay.
So I make a motion that the amendment that's stated on the back of your order of service agenda be approved. Is that all you need?
I think so.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Okay, that's Roy Vandera who seconded that. I think Eileen Steele is taking minutes. Is that right, Eileen? Are you up there?
Yes.
Thank you. Gee, Eileen, your voice has changed. All right.
And I got a lot uglier.
Okay, all right. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. I don't know if you need, I mean, Susan can speak to this if you have questions, but you've read that what happened is they changed their policies and procedures, and they added an educational component to the responsibilities of the Committee on Ministry. And when the bylaws were written, it simply said that they'd be, it's on here somewhere. It just said they'd be elected and how they would be elected, and that they would be in charge of monitoring and reporting on the overall quality of the ministry. So that's everything that goes on in the church that falls under those committees, except for things like finance and the few things that are stewardship, finance, HR committee. Those are board committees. All right, so what they're asking us to approve is the only change, I believe. Well, maybe Susan, the only change is the adding of the educational component. Yeah.
So we've done that, and because the bylaws currently say lead minister, that we will, as you can see, people will be appointed by the lead minister. We have only one. We therefore remove that word. And we, the bylaws elsewhere say that the minister is ex officio on committees. We simply added it here too. That's no change. So the only change is the first sentence, and adds the words, educates the society about its mission, vision, goals, and covenants.
All right.
That is the only change. This is basically dotting I's and crossing T's to make sure that the P&Ps are in accordance with the bylaws, or vice versa.
Thank you. Okay, Marie.
Susan, you're gonna have to repeat my question, but in the original, it says C, Article 7, Section 2 for midterm filling the midterm vacancies. That's not in the revision. Maybe you could explain the revision that doesn't have the midterm.
I think it's my omission, Marie. I think that's my mistake. I think it should be there.
I don't know if the people online.
They don't know, they didn't do it.
Oh, Marie noted that at the original statement, the final sentence says In addition, 2 members will be elected by the congregation. See Article 7, Section 2A for filling midterm vacancies in the congregationally elected positions. It is my omission that that is not in there. It should be in there.
All right. And are the people on Zoom having any trouble hearing us? Is it? Okay. All right. So, but did you repeated? She read. Okay. Anything else before we call for a vote? Charlie?
I found this change in the bylaw very interesting because the report from the Committee on Ministry was extensive in its concerns about proper procedure and some members of the congregation or even some members of the board evidently not knowing exactly who was responsible for whom. And so I thought that the point of this was to change it. But the interesting thing about bylaws is that bylaws apply kind of like the Constitution, right, of a church. They're a fairly high level thing. And in general, you don't want bylaws to be too specific, right? You want bylaws to cover, things in general. And then the policies and procedures manual is where you have specificity. And as Susan explained, they made changes in the policies and procedures of this committee. And I think that's within their purview because policies and procedures are internal documents. They're designed to allow the committees and the organizations to function within their structure. But making a change in the bylaws and making it as specific as the policies and procedures, I think one is redundant and two, it's not appropriate for bylaws. And so I oppose this amendment. And I don't do it out of malice. I think, the idea of educating the congregation is good. In fact, I believe Katie is going to do a service on January 3rd, the first service of next year on what's it called? The Covenant of Right Relations, because she's asked me to be a service associate on that. And I think we need to talk about that, And I think if we want committees to present on Sundays, as we've done in the past, to talk about their mission and vision, I think they're free to do that. I don't see that we need a bylaw change to accomplish that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Are there other comments or statements?
What was the reason for feeling the need to make this change?
Susan, I'm afraid I'm going to need you again. What is the rationale? What's the need for the change?
The rationale is simply to make the bylaws define our purpose correctly. Our purpose was to help strengthen the ministry of this church. We've expanded it. We're going to do more work for you. If you don't want us to do that, well, okay, that's okay with me. But we are being specific about the kinds of work we're going to do. The bylaws define our task. We are expanding our task. We thought the bylaws should reflect that. That's all.
Thank you, Susan. Other questions from anywhere? I think we're ready. Yes, there is a question.
Hello, I'm John Schultz. When we first came to Las Cruces, we were really welcomed by this church. In fact, we sang in the choir even before we were members. And when we first came here, we had a ministry that had a 90-day tenure for committees on the service committee, the people that build our services, and it rotated. That every month you got a new person, and the people that have been there 60 days could educate the people that were there for 30 days. I am definitely opposed to a 3-year term for the service committee.
Oh, okay. Yes, all right. If we could, it could. Okay. There is currently the way I mean, that's what stands. So we aren't changing any of that. That was. Yeah, see, we're talking about a different committee, and I appreciate your thought, but this committee is the Committee on Ministry, and it's a different group, and the bylaws currently state that it is 6 people, that 2 are elected by the congregation, 2 are appointed by the board in collaboration with the minister, and 2 are appointed by the minister in collaboration with the board. And there could be a suggested amendment, but I think at this time, this is the amendment that this one simply adds to what exists. The fact that they are going to be doing some educational work as well as encouraging the overall quality of the ministry. So that particular comment, voting against this would not change that, because that's what the bylaws say currently. And that would be something we might look at. In fact, the board is planning, I believe, to have a bylaws task force in early 2022 to look at what we believe are a number of changes. And we will be looking for individuals interested in that work, because it will not be a board committee, it will be a task force, and we'll have other folks. You have been waiting patiently, Christopher. Thank you.
Madam President, members of the congregation, thanks. I support this change. I read the ministry report and it was thorough. It has identified some work we need to do. And I am most guilty because I write checks, I come to church, and I don't volunteer. I got a lot of other things going on, as we all do. I need to do better. But if you don't tell us, we need to get off the couch and fix the things we need to fix, I won't know. I'll just stay home, write checks, work at the university, handle my medical concerns, and live happily ever after. So I like it. Organizations like this function well when the obligations and responsibilities are clear, when the collective commits to communicate with each other about those and has difficult decisions when they don't get done. It's a lot like family and raising your kids. So I support this strongly. I apologize for being a really bad member. There's hope. I have sinned, I shall repent. And I appreciate you doing the work you did, because I read the report. Hallelujah. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. All right. Seeing no other hands, and how about up there?
So does that mean that the Committee on Ministry wants to increase the scope of their mission?
Yes, yes, that is, so it doesn't get into the particulars of the policies and procedures, which I think was what Charlie was concerned about. I think it just adds an extra thought to the mission. So, all right, let's have our first vote. I think we'll pick orange for this one. And
Can we do a show of hands? Would that make it shorter if it was?
according to our former parliamentarian, votes at a congregational meeting need to be counted. So I think it would be difficult for us to make sure we had the right count. If you don't turn in a card, we'll know what the count is. So all you do on this card is put yes to approve this bylaws amendment, no to indicate that you disapprove, or abstain if that is something that's more comfortable for you and where you are. So if you would do that on your orange card here, and guys, do you have the baskets to collect these with?
Oh, hey.
Okay, so what they'll do, is they'll pass the collection plate. And we're not looking for money. Well, yeah, of course, we always are. But right now we're looking for a vote. While we're doing that, I wanted to address a couple of
Okay,
things.
excuse me, Madam President.
Yeah.
Will there be a polling of the Zoom attendees?
Yes, I think Michaela bring up that polling tool. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and the directions, if you don't remember them from last time, Zoomers, is if there are more than one person using your device, that same polling question will be put up a second time, and people who are in the room can vote. And if you're having trouble voting for whatever reason, then raise your hand, and Michaela and Sally Atkinson will try to help you, or just count your hand. What I wanted to discuss.
Excuse me, I'm sorry again. There's two of us in the household. I got the poll once. I hit it for one of us. The second, and then it went away. So the second person in our home can't vote.
Same here.
They're counting the first vote, and then they will bring up the polling tool again to take.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome, Dave. All right, so I was asked by a couple of individuals as they checked in as new members, whether they were okay to vote. Hey, guys. So, and the answer is, under the current bylaws, it states that people need to be a member for 2 months before they can vote at a congregational meeting. That is one of those things that I'd like to look at in the new year and changing. It seems unnecessarily restrictive. And so anyway, that's the sort of thing. So I do apologize to those of you who came expecting to be able to vote. And I think we should address it. Another thing I wanted to mention is preparing for this meeting about 3 o'clock this morning. I remembered, I think it was a song, but it was used as a meditation. And the meditation was quite simple. It was, breathe in peace, breathe out love. And so lying in bed, trying to use that as a meditation, just closing my eyes and thinking, breathe in peace. Breathe out love. And I recommend it to you. Didn't get me back to sleep, but it calmed me down a little. All right. I think we're about ready to move. While they're finishing that up, now I would like to ask, I guess, a favor of this group. We held 4 question and answer sessions, information sessions about the budget and the amended letter of agreement with our minister for the coming year. And we learned during those 4 sessions that it made more sense to people if we took up the budget and looked at it and how the budget overall looks, which of course includes this letter of agreement for the coming year. So with this I can get by a voice vote. I would like you to accept my recommendation that we reorder these 2 items and take up the vote to approve the proposed 2022 budget. And then before we vote, possibly, depending on that, we would take up the vote to accept. There's a wording error in my agenda, to accept the renegotiated letter of agreement. Maggie, I see your hand.
Budget first, doesn't that preclude, doesn't that in essence make a decision about the letter of agreement?
We can table the vote and go back. I mean, it's a little awkward, but
What's the reason for doing that? Because it seems like it seems like if we vote on the budget, we're in essence voting on the letter of agreement that's included in the budget, correct?
Yes, it is included in there. I would say we wouldn't vote, but I think
We wouldn't vote on what?
we would ask for, because the way you start discussions in a meeting is to ask for a motion so say we're doing the budget first. We would ask for a motion to approve the proposed 2022 budget. We would open discussion. Then we could table the decision on that and move back to understanding more about the contract before we ask for a vote.
Why don't we just do the contract piece first then? I'm just confused, Susan, about the rationale for doing it if we're going to table that piece and go back to it anyway.
Okay.
Why start with the budget and then go back? Why not just do that piece and then do the budget?
Okay. That's how I wrote it, but what we found during the Q&A sessions was that people understood better what all this was about in the context of the budget. You can deny me this request, but I think Michaela. Someone's had it. Well, okay. Well, I've heard Maggie, and now we have, of course, Dave.
Yes, I mean, the same question could be asked if we looked at the minister's revised letter of agreement and voted on it. Then it would make the vote on the budget, either moot. I think that we would have people who are not familiar with the issues, who are not familiar with the budgetary and financial situation of the church, will be able to make a much more informed decision about the proposed revision in the minister's contract and letter of agreement if they have a good understanding of what the budgetary, our budgetary situation is. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. We can proceed either way. So I raise your hands if you think it's okay to change it, and then we'll get the other count. Okay, I'm not good at counting. Can you leave your hands up a minute? Can you guys count one side and you count the other, just so we know? And in the Zoom, you can raise your hand, physically, or you can put up that little yellow hand, whichever works for you. 31, pardon?
Five. No, there's
Five.
more than that. Or six. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then there's hands raised.
Yeah, others have,
There's 6. No, we're not.
okay.
Seven now.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's more. I've got, there's at least 10.
There's another page.
And there's another page.
It shows them counted on here. There's 7.
Might be easy to
There's
count
some
the
people
numbers.
that are like this.
They're raising their hand. That's the,
Still hand.
not their virtual hand.
Like Dave has too.
I mean, some people don't know how to raise that little hand. They just,
Virtual hands are going down. People who are online, check that your virtual hand stays raised. They disappear.
Now, if you do a thumbs up, it disappears.
I raised 2 hands because Eileen is not on the screen and she is voting in favor of the modification on the agenda.
all right.
Yours
So
would've been easier to count.
maybe so. There were 31, and how many are there on Zoom? 20. Okay. We have a group here of about, it's either 59, I think somebody walked in, I think it's now 60. So that's 51 out of 60. Would you like your no votes recorded? It wouldn't be recorded. We can keep them in the minutes.
I believe by parliamentary procedure, we have to record all no votes.
Okay, so let's the no vote, please.
Easier for the people online.
Okay, would you give them a poll? And here we have those who think this is not a good idea. Would you please raise your hands?
That's one thing that I really appreciate about in terms of it is really led by the congregation.
7? Okay, all right. I'm sorry, got it. Maybe we won't do this again. It seems like it would be fast. Okay, and then we need, when they finish counting that, we need any abstentions. Well, we can do 1, there's 2, 3. Does that one have a hand up? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Got it? 5? No? I mean for abstain, 5 for abstain. Okay. All right, and now count. I would say we can go ahead and do that. That's well over the majority.
Vote on the amendment.
Yes, you have that in front of me now. 54 yeses, 6 abstentions, and 11 no's. So the amendment passed. All right. So while we're waiting to hear that, thank you. All right. So, Katie, would you come up to introduce this? And our minister also wishes, no, not, you want to make a statement when we come back to you. Sorry, never mind. We want, oh, I could call for this. I do need a motion, someone to vote that we, someone to move that we approve the proposed 2022 budget, and then we'll have discussion.
I move that we approve the 2022 budget as presented.
Thank you. Do we have a second? No? Okay. Thank you. All right, we can open discussion. Is this where you want me to present? I think.
Yes.
Okay. You're gonna put it on the screen? So that everybody can see it? Yes. She's bringing it. All right, thank you. I'd like to thank you all.
particularly those who have attended the question and answer sessions that we've held over the last 7 days. We had many rich and productive conversations. I also like to thank all of you who have generously donated to the church, and you will see that as we
Discuss the 22 budget before the letter of agreement.
As we bring up the budget, the pledge figures for this year have matched virtually last year's to the tune of $240,410 from 103 pledges as of Friday. We got an update from Sherry. So you got the most recent news in that corner. Before the document comes up, the major differences, it's there? Oh, righty. Excellent. I'm going to this way. Please pardon my back. The next category in the pledge grouping, it's the less uncollectible pledges. The pattern over the years is there's a certain percentage of folks, around 4%, I think, from year to year that are just not able to match their promise. And we allow for that in our budget planning. We also have folks who take a little bit extra time. They pay their prior pledge in the next year. And we optimistically plan for new pledges. And that total pledges that we anticipate for 2022, 234,400. Again, I emphasize estimated. The next section is called the general fund. Let me explain contribution of record. I pledge. I put my pledge card in. Now, let's say I have a windfall, like we had stimulus money, and my husband and I decide, well, you know, that's extra we didn't plan on having. Let's take a percentage of that and add it to, give it to the church. It won't be our pledge, it'll be over and above. That counts as a contribution of record. Goes under our name, but it's not a pledge, it's something more. So in the budget that we are going back to pre-COVID figures and estimating we're going to get about 9,000 there. With our coming into the sanctuary, we are estimating that over 12 months, we should see 2,500 in our plate. Facility use, we estimate 4,000. We now rent to Weight Watchers. If we are good landlords, we might get another day, and then 4,000 will be easily attained. The rest of that category, interest income, you all know what rates are these days. Amazon receipts, I hope you are remembering us to Amazon. And then, of course, the gallery has had some fabulous shows lately, and our share of those has helped our bottom line. And we anticipate that going on into 2022. So the total general fund, 16,100. The category with the largest difference between 2021 and 2022 is the next one, funding and development. We are planning an auction for the first Saturday in May. Please put it on your calendars, a night at the races, and other fundraising to help our cause to the tune of 21,000 is what we're hoping for. So far, we've not found a grant that we qualify for, so we're not counting anything there. And as I looked at the latest monthly report, we have about 5,000 that will be carryover, except Charlie and my husband found some needed repairs that have to happen sooner. We have a security issue with the door in the RE building, and the lights in the ladies' restroom are not working. So it's beyond my husband's capacity. He says, I'm not an electrician. We got to get one. So I'm not sure how much of that 5,000 we'll be able to carry forward. We shall see. We plan on having other funding in the new year to the tune of $1,000, hopefully. And that brings us 22,000 for that category and a total income estimated of 272,500. As you can see from the note, that's a difference of 100
$22,000 from this year to next. Now, the other side of the ledger, how do we plan to spend it? The first category is personnel, and we have in our draft provisions for 50% compensation package for our settled minister, salary and housing, FICA, in lieu of FICA, excuse me, that's a percentage. Professional expenses is a percentage. Retirement plan is roughly 10%, is 10%, and insurance, we've kept the same from last year to this year to next. So that's a total of $53,581. I know it's not 50-50, but I can do the math, but the insurance is the kicker. Since we maintain that, it makes the difference. We have kept the Director of Religious Education salary and retirement plan for a total of $22,000. We took away her professional development. Music director, we kept her salary and professional development, $25,822.50. These last two positions are part-time. Office administrator, we kept the salary and retirement plan, and we had to adjust her insurance. What we had last year was an error. We are correcting it in our proposed budget for next year, $37,740. Other personnel with the 4,476 was COVID hours. We anticipate with tenants and building use going up a few more hours for our sexton, 6,240. Groundskeeper got a hourly rate change, carrying it into the new year, 7,488. Technology support with Reverend Kalani half-time. It's no longer feasible for him to do our website, so we need to have money built in to help defer the cost of someone else doing that. So total other personnel, $24,648. Miscellaneous employee expenses, level funding for bookkeeper, level funding for childcare other. We see a change in childcare Sunday morning. We have a tech person to assist with Zoom for the RE building, for the RE program, and then 2 people to be with the children. Payroll taxes are estimated and workman's comp $19.50 for all of the staff, bringing a total of $21,050. Total personnel, the largest component of our budget, $184,841.50.
Some people were surprised that our religious education, you could tell them that, our music directors are both already half-time.
Yes, yes, both the director of RE and our music director those positions are already half-time positions. As I learned to my sorrow when I proposed cutting them, it was like, what? Facilities, we had high hopes, but we've had to take a lot of things out. As some of you may know, El Paso electric bills are going up. The latter part of this year, we've seen a slight rise. We anticipate for next year, 12,000. Janitorial supplies with the need for greater sanitation, given the COVID and Omicron, we've upped the amount there to 1,200. We've broken out facilities maintenance into 2 categories, 6,000 and then 1,500 for repairs, tools and supplies. We've also have a little line item there, contributions to offset expenses. In the past, sometimes we've had people contribute when there's been vandalism to help us get back on track. So we're going to keep that line in there. There was a plan that we would begin to very systematically replace our aging air conditioning units there was a census taken about their age and their state. And so much a year for 5 years, and we replace one, and then we go on in the order of their condition and age. Unfortunately, we have to defer that to another time. If you've noticed, ever looked up on the office building, there is rotting wood, and we had proposed to put metal cladding around that. That is being deferred. There are stairs out the back of the chancel that go to nowhere because that door was eliminated. It's a safety hazard and they need to be removed, but that's a costly enterprise. So that's being deferred. The Facilities Committee recommended, and we concur, that regular maintenance of our HVAC systems and the, what do you call it? The ductwork, thank you, is in keeping with our purpose of having a healthy environment for everyone who is part of our organization. And we are setting aside some money for that twice a year. We would like to bring the bike rack back and have a concrete pad, but again, we're deferring that. We asked the endowment committee to fund from the endowment for the tomball window, a tempered glass structure to protect it on the exterior. Unfortunately, the figure they were considering was not the correct one, and they declined to make that recommendation this year. Okay, the rest of what you see is related to software, hardware, the things that help us maintain our dual platform for worship, and telephones. We have piano tuning there, as well as our insurance and we also put aside, and we toyed with the idea of deferring our building contingency. We put aside a little money each year in case something catastrophic happens. We have a little bit of money to deal with it. We toyed with the idea of taking it out, but decided no, as soon as we did that, Murphy's Law would come into play and something bad would happen. So this is our, that's the Fitzgerald side saying we better put it in just as insurance that nothing bad happens. So the total for facilities is $42,902. The difference from last year to this is the capital improvement project. Office expenses is level funded from the last year to this. I have highlighted though the $4,000 just to kind of let you know where the finance committee is coming from. Every time people use a credit card to pay their pledges, etc., we know that that's the most convenient way now with COVID, and it's a safe way. We get it, but it costs us money. So we're going to be working on some language that we would ask Fellowship One to include to help encourage members and friends to add a percentage or two to their contribution to help defray those costs. Okay, pay me now, pay me later. All right, so the total for office expenses in this draft budget is $11,635. Okay, the next section is why I became a UU, and it breaks my heart to tell you that we have pretty much taken all the funding away from the ministries, the Committee on the Ministry, Adult Enrichment, Board Contingency, Congregational Activity. Want to turn the page, please? Caring Committee, we've all zeroed those out. The one that we kept money in is related to communication and outreach. Membership is a priority, getting the word out about who we are and how we are unique to Las Cruces in this area, and really felt that that was important. Sarah Race had an idea and a suggestion about how we could even increase our presence for millennials, and that got increased to 800 based on her recommendation. Fellowship, $10 a Sunday to the total of 500. Library, nothing for leadership development, nothing for membership. Typically, we have a long-term risk reduction plan and we put a little bit aside. We're deferring that practice in 2022. We have, as many of you know, and you've contributed to it, a minister's discretionary fund. That has a balance right now of around 4,000. We figure that that will take us into 2022 and beyond. So we're not contributing from the 2022 budget. We do, however, want to have a robust support for our ministry in the form of honoraria for Sundays to help with Sundays where Reverend Kalani will not be in the pulpit. We've found out from him that the average fee for a guest minister is $350, which we had not been budgeting appropriately. So we multiply that by 24, which gets you to the 8,400. This figure was developed long before any conversation about renegotiating Reverend Kalani's contract. So it's inadequate to the current circumstance, but it's more than we've had in the past. Since it's likely we'll have lay-led ministries, we thought it important to keep Soul Matters materials coming. And we reduced a little bit of the flowers from 200 to 100, but kept aesthetic supplies at 200. So the total ministry support fund is 9,150. Music, we kept 500 for honoraria for guest musicians who come when Catherine can't be with us. But we reduced the amount for music that we purchased from 1,000 to 500. Religious education, we went to the endowment committee and asked them to fund, and they agreed to recommend to the finance committee and the board taking 3,500 from the religious education portion of the endowment to provide training in our whole life for 4 people. Kelly asked for us to budget 1,300 for the Sunday RE program, 500 for the youth group, and 150 for the Zoom license because they have a hybrid platform as we do for our worship. She needs training in our whole life as well as other programs, and that's the 1,200 you see there. So a total for religious ed of 3,150. And I asked her how many students we have enrolled, and she said 12. We have nothing in the budget for social justice, and we continued to put in 500 for stewardship. For Sunday service, we kept 200 for the chalice table supplies, leaving a total for 200 for Sunday service committee. Welcoming congregation, no funding there. And the total for committee programs and ministries is pretty much level funded, 15,300. And the next category is our fair share, the payment to UUA combined with the district. It's less than 18,000, but it's likely to be a bit more than 17 when all is said and done. Total anticipated expenses, $272,679. That's showing a deficit budget, but I know it balances because of the contributions we got notice of on Friday. So it's really to the tune of 220 plus, I believe. So that's the budget proposal for 2022. I remember the letter that Reverend Kalani sent out with the pledge cards and all of the things we wanted to have and asked you to help us provide. And it breaks my heart that all of those were not possible.
This is how I'll be able to tell you what color to use for the additional votes. So clearly, we should have some discussion. sorry about that. Clearly, we should have some discussion about this. So if people would sort of queue up near the mic, we'll take those into consideration, and we'll try to alternate guys up there with comments from the Zoom participants.
Thank you.
No, we did that at the beginning. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yes, we did. And for the secretary, I know Diane made the motion and it was seconded by Charlie. Okay. Yeah, thank you. No, I keep me on track. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Joel Brown. I don't like this budget. I don't think anybody likes this budget. So we won't discuss that. More importantly, I don't like the way the budget was done. The way this budget was done and presented to us was done, I think, in such a way that we as a congregation didn't really have much input. Because the budget that Katie just presented was pretty much the budget the board developed with a few minor tweaks. When you see a change in the budget of 1/3 from last year to this year, and the substantial changes that were made, and knowing that we knew all of this was coming for a year, we should have been able to talk more about what our priorities are and how we wanted this budget to be constructed. It's been developed and it's been presented to us in such a way, in such a time, that we don't have any choice. If we want to keep the lights on, we have to pass this budget. Now, Charlie, I agree with you. What you said yesterday, we got to have the budget passed to spend the money. So, yeah, we don't really have any choice about that, but I don't like the way this was done. We, as a congregation, and the kind of changes that are in this budget, and in particular, balancing the budget on the back of one person. Nobody else suffers in this budget except the minister. So I don't like that. Thank you.
Let's have some more comments. Oh yeah, we'll get to one of them. I can say on that, this was an unusual, extraordinary budget year, but it is the process we've followed for as long as I've been here, which isn't that long. But the budget starts with a proposal from staff as to what they see as important. Finance committee works on that, does projections, does lots of what if budgets this year, way more than other years. So we followed the same process, but I certainly hear the frustration that you're feeling in are not somehow bringing this crisis to your attention earlier in the process. We did not make a decision to renegotiate until the October board meeting, when we looked at the budget and said, it's just so extraordinarily off between what we want to do and what we will likely have the money to do, that then the board approved a negotiating team and asked us to negotiate Kalani's letter of agreement for the year, this next year only. It's a 1-year contract that we're proposing so that we can find time to find our footing to address, I think Christopher said that quite well, to address some of the systemic problems that have been building for a number of years. Dave Steele told us, we gave them pledge trend data, and any of you who've read our summary or have come to one of the meetings have seen that. It does show a consistent drop in everything except the average pledge. The average pledge has been going up a little, but the number of people and the overall number of dollars that the pledging contributes to our budget have been trending down. Dave Steele told us that he had data from when he was doing stewardship back 10 years or more. And in 8 of the 10 years that there was a drop. So it's a problem that's been coming. And if we somehow kept that a secret from you, that's a terrible thing. And I'm sorry we didn't do better. So oh yeah, will you call on them? Annetta?
Thank you. Oh, was I mistaken, or aren't all meetings open to membership to listen in on? Because I had come to meetings of committees I don't belong to, like finance committees and board meetings as a church member. Is that a correct thing to do?
Yes, yes. The only time a meeting, I think, unless committee ministry is, are you?
Yeah, I thought it was just closed when you discuss salary negotiations and stuff, right? Yeah.
That's the board policy.
Right.
I think it's the policy of all the committees.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, the reason I raised my hand though was, did I notice that the $200 for chalicing is on there twice, once under minister and once under Sunday services?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I'll look at it.
We'll take a look at that.
Oh, okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's not a lot, but I thought, whew,
okay.
Don't want to spend $200 twice if we don't have it. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you, thank you. All right, we'll look at that. Okay, other people who want to make statements, ask questions? Jane Ash.
So it was helpful to set in on the budget discussions, the special sessions that were held. And one of the questions that I asked was that if there was room for reassessing this major cut in the salary of the minister as the year moves along, that this is not something set in concrete through to the end of the year. I was told by Katie that indeed that could happen if we get creative and we do some good work and figure out where we might find that salary. I realize that things are going up, and it was admirable that most of the staff are getting a cost of increase. You're not? I thought that you said that there was a COLA for. Okay, so I misunderstood that part. Okay. I also noticed, the large amount for guest speakers, and it seems to me, I can imagine all the reasons why we think that, why the finance committee would think that's wise to keep interest and have people feeling stimulated by the services, et cetera. We do have a very creative congregation when it comes to doing lay services. And for me, the one item that concerns me, I would like to see that money go toward restoring eventually some of the minister's salary, as opposed to having the guest speakers. That's just a personal opinion that, you know, that would be my top priority, is to make sure that we do as much as we can to restore the salary of the minister. I treasure our minister. I feel he has done a remarkable job, and I am inspired by his services, his sermons. So I just would like to express that opinion.
Thank you. Thank you. And before Christopher comes up, I'll just say that, yes, we have had discussions on these 4 Q&A sessions, and we can talk a little bit about that. But one of the concerns was, can the new board take a look at this, or is this in place for the calendar year? And yes, the new board can take a look at this. We don't anticipate any extraordinary revenue coming in, but you know, there's always the chance that extraordinary revenue will come in. So I guess I promised somebody, the next person who wishes to speak, Sally, is Robert. Okay, Robert Floyd, please.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Having been on the board, one of the things that I like to point out to many of the members is that budgets in this type of scenario where we're very tight in funds is really a thankless job. And it's a great struggle to find some balance and to make our budget work. So we have to give a lot of thanks to our board, as well as have faith that our board made a good effort and intended to do the right thing, and we shouldn't nitpick and try to change what the board is proposing, a little here, a little there. I think we just have to accept that the board did a coordinated with the staff, coordinated with the committees, coordinated with the finance committee, and came up with the best balance that they could come up with. And we need to not try to pick that apart. That's all.
Thank you, Robert. Christopher.
Madam Chair, members of the congregation, I've already shared with you that I have not been active in this process. So I'm coming in the 11th hour with a critical comment that I hope you will receive. I agree with Jane that on the speakers, we have our leader, our spiritual leader, taking the hit. And I know that all the other people working are all part-time. I did some very simple calculations. I think the non-ministerial salary line HR is around $100,000. And so my suggestion, either OIDEA or in the future when the board looks at this, is to spread the pain around a little bit. If each person took a 10% cut, we would be able to increase the salary to the minister roughly by $10,000. With fringe, maybe not quite so much. And the comment that Jane made about reducing the stipends for guest speakers, they're wonderful to have, but we need a minister and we want to pay him what he is worth. So again, and I apologize, I'm late to the party, I'm the problem, but I would encourage either a discussion today that would allow that to happen, or if we absolutely positively have to pass the budget or we go out of business on the 1st of January, that we pass the budget and immediately open this discussion up for other things. Thank you.
Is there another person on Zoom who wants to speak? Not yet. Okay, Paul.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul O'Connell. My wife and I have been members of this church now, I think going on 12 years. And one issue that I have is that over a fair amount of time, we've been declining in membership and declining in age, I mean, increasing in age. I wish. I think we need to do a little introspective. I don't think it's going to get better. Sure, the pandemic's been a big factor in what's happened recently, no question about it. But I think other things are going on too. Are we excited about who we are? Are we declining? And so I think we need to look at ourselves and ask, which is it? So that's just my comment.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom yet, Kim? Yes. Steve Hitchcock? Steve Hitchcock. All right. Steve?
I would like to speak to Roy's point. I am very disappointed that as a member of the Finance Committee, we weren't able to get this discussion out to you all earlier. We knew this coming into the year. This is not a surprise to the Finance Committee. However, other priorities took over. If you recall, we were shut down with COVID. If you recall, we were in the middle of trying to refurbish the sanctuary. And if you recall, Fort Kalani was trying to reopen the campus after the hiatus of the past years. And that is what delayed the process. We have known this. We have been grappling with it. We've been looking at alternatives for the entire year. Yes, we didn't share it with you. That's true.
Thank you. Sam?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm taking off my board hat and I'm talking as an individual member, just so you know. I heard a lot of options during the conversations the board had with, well, I guess I have to be a board member if I'm going to say that, don't I? That the board had with the Finance Committee about what we could do and what we couldn't do. And we looked at a variety of budget options. And then I was only able to attend one informational meeting, and I heard a bunch of suggestions there. So I'd like to speak ahead of time to some of the suggestions I heard, because it impacts who we are and how we do business. And one of them was to either omit, or I just now heard, decrease the time that the director of music and the director of religious education take. The impact is that we need more volunteers to take those places. And where are they going to come from? Who's going to play the piano on Sundays? Who's going to choose the music that we listen to? Who's going to or are we going to say, well, we're not going to have music as part of our worship anymore? For me, that's not acceptable, but that's my personal opinion. The impact of omitting or decreasing the time paid to the religious education is that we've gone from 2 to 12 in a year of COVID. And I think that's pretty amazing. And so we're going to lose momentum if we don't have someone working at that. Loss of income if the parents of the youth decide they don't want to be part of the church anymore because they're not getting what they came for. And right now there's 2 Sunday teachers, Joel Brown and myself. We've been teaching for what, 4 years, Joel? 3? I don't know. The 2 of us. We need more volunteers to, Oh, we've got plenty. Okay, except that when we start getting 5-year-olds, it gets tough. Seriously, they get bored real easily. So, okay, so that is a matter of, we're going to need more volunteers. We're going to need more people to step up. We're going to need people who have experience with curriculum to say, okay, this is directions we can go. I'm not a religious educator other than I show up on Sunday mornings and lead classes. Joel is a soil scientist. We're not curriculum developers. And so we need to rely on what the UUA offers and what our Director of Religious Education can have. I heard a suggestion that we decrease the services of the groundskeeper, or perhaps discontinue the services of the groundskeeper. And the reasoning was, after all, we used to do that for ourselves. I've been a part of this church for 17 years, and we had a sexton groundskeeper who was responsible for both things. Reverend Kalani split the two because we couldn't find someone who was good at doing both things. So if we're going to say we're not going to have a groundskeeper, or we're going to really reduce his time, when the grass starts growing in the summer, who's going to come mow? Who's going to trim the trees, and how much are we going to have to pay somebody to come in and trim the leaves that are rubbing the roof that are going to ruin our roof? And so I just think that we need to seriously consider, if we're going to take things from other employees, who and how the rest of us are going to step in to keep things moving. Thank you.
Oh, is there someone up? Is someone waiting up there? Okay, Meg.
For those of you who don't know, I'm Maggie Locatelli. And I want to speak to the issue about the, well, first I want to say, this has been a really difficult time for everybody. I mean, the last 2 years have been just really hard on all of us. And that comes out in all kinds of ways. And I really believe that everybody has done his or her best in this very difficult process of trying to figure out financially how to keep things going, and how not only to just keep things going and keep things kind of, limping along, but at the, how to enliven ourselves. And that's a really difficult task. And so first, I just want to give credit to everybody, because I think everybody's done what they think is the best thing to do with the information they had at the time. I also have great concerns, having been on the Sunday Services Committee now for several years, as you all are probably sick and tired of seeing me, that I think it piggybacks somewhat on what Sally was saying. For a variety of reasons, we need more people to volunteer for more things in the church, and it's difficult because we're all tired. We all have, concerns about all kinds of things that are heightened in our lives. And yet it's a time also where that's really a crucial thing. I have great concerns on a very practical level, twofold. I think the money that is budgeted for visiting guest ministers, at least part of that should go to the minister's salary instead. And I have, there's two reasons for that. I believe that it's important that we have the sense of a minister for this congregation. And I think that we've only sort of just, given when Reverend Kachela got here and what's occurred since then, it's like we need to give that a real chance. We need to get behind that. And so I would rather that money come to his ministry and have him in the pulpit more. I don't know how much it would offset, though, the agreement. So I don't know about the details of it. I just think that the other pragmatic issue is, having tried to get guest ministers, I can tell you it is not easy. It is uh, not at all. And even when you get them, it's not easy for people who have to coordinate, Catherine particularly, and the service associates, especially if you don't have a service associate who's really seasoned. It takes a lot of communication and coordination to work with a guest minister. Many of them that we've worked with, they're not UUs, first of all, and we're not going to get UUs in this area because we're kind of it, right? And so you have to kind of educate them about what the deal is and all that. It just takes a lot of energy to do that. And so I'm very concerned about whether we could even use that money and the toll it takes even when we get people to coordinate with all of them. It's much easier. Catherine now has, Catherine and Kalani have, they know each other. They trust each other's like strengths and what they're going to do with services. And you can't get that from a guest. Of course, you have to be welcoming them and taking care of them. They're not coordinating with you in the same way. So I know that's long-winded, but I just have real concerns about that particular piece. I think otherwise it seems like the budget is down to the bone. I don't know anywhere else we can draw from, but I am really concerned about that piece.
Thank you. Anyone on Zoom yet with a hand up? Okay, Mark.
I just can't keep my mouth shut. I'm sorry. First of all, we worked hard on putting something together. I'm really concerned that we go into the new year with something. And I really think that it would be a good idea for this to revisit it, but I'd like to go into the year with something that we've got already settled. And I do think it's important to revisit. There's an area that I would like to emphasize could be changed. Is I know Kalani's put a lot of time in for the UUA, and we've put a lot of emphasis on always paying our fair share. And right now we're in a pretty bad situation, and a lot of congregations around the country don't do that all the time. I don't think that it would really hurt for us to at least postpone putting that $18,000 in. I mean, we could get along without that. Maybe in the year we could find a way to replenish that too. But $18,000, that goes a long ways. But I am in favor actually of taking what we've got and starting the new year so we can function, and then early on revisiting. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mark, because we have an electrician to pay and a door to replace. But let me give you some information to help with what Maggie was referring to. She would like, as I know many of you would like to see greater compensation for Reverend Kalani. So let's put some numbers to that. And Mark talked about the UUA contribution in the budget. That's $18,000. Okay, let's take that $18,000, and we're going to need another $6,834 to make a compensation package equal to 75%. So where could we get that? Round it up to $7,000. Okay, we'll take the honoraria away, almost all the honoraria. And for that, we will have Reverend Kalani in the pulpit 24 Sundays. That means we will have 28 Sundays, and so we will need committees and volunteers to step forward. As you've been hearing all along, we need people to step forward and say, I will help do a service. I will be a service associate. Yes, it's wrong to ask for guests and pay for it. I'm part of this society. I'm part of this congregation. I can make a difference. And Christopher, I think I'm talking to you. chair of the finance committee, it's tough making these decisions. I used to do HR. I was a superintendent of schools. I did that for 20+ years. It's not easy, folks. It wasn't lightly done. But we have to have a balanced budget. We have to be able to pay bills as of January 1st. And if it is the will of the congregation, we can suspend payment to UUA if you so choose. I think there'll be people on the finance committee that would kind of roll their eyes at me, Shirley Davis particular, because that's a point of pride. However, these are desperate times. I would suggest, though, we keep a bit in the honoraria because I know how hard it is to get volunteers. Remember, we had an auction not so long ago? Okay, enough said. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Sally has. Okay.
And this is a segue to what Katie just said. And I have to tell you, I lied. I've only been a member of the church 14 years and not 17. So forgive me. If we need $7,000, here's $1,000. And I think we've got some people here who could put the money in to get our minister to 75%. It's not going to get him to 100 unless we get 50 people who put 1,000 in, but we can start. And so I suggest we consider that as well. Bob Pipkins said we should have a special fund drive. I thought that was a mistake. I've rethought that. And I think that it's a mistake not to try. Thank you.
All right. Katya. Yeah. Katya.
Hello. Can you hear me? I can't see on my screen. Yes? I would just like to point out that while we're talking about, people are saying, talking about this thing, people need to understand also that Reverend Kalani was involved in the process of making this decision. And that there's surely all kinds of stuff that was discussed that, that we don't know about, but that we can also trust that Reverend Kalani agreed to this contract that has already been signed by the board and the minister that we're voting on. He has agreed to this. That's all I wanted to say.
That's true. And the board has approved it as well.
You got to speak into the microphone.
Sorry. Yeah, that's correct. Kalani has signed the agreement and returned it to us. The board has approved it, and I've signed it on behalf of the board as directed. So we are at the point of saying that we hear the very great concern, but renegotiation would have to take place. What we did in renegotiation was we stressed Sunday services, coffee hours, interaction with committees and task forces, things that would put Kalani interacting directly with members of the congregation, and that we sacrificed other things to come up with a package that would keep him in front of you as much as we could. After the first information session, it was suggested that we look at raising it to 75%. And we don't have a way to do that. The renegotiation was completed. That team is disbanded. The board won't meet again in this next, holiday week. So at this point, there's not a thing that we can do to change it this year. But in 2022, when the board reconvenes, They'll probably need a little bit of time because at least half of them will be new. But yes, they can look at that. We did ask about this 75%, and we needed 28? 24. We needed 24,000 to bring that package up to, and 25, all right. And for doing that, we will, Kalani said he would come an additional 2 Sundays. This is because when we negotiated the basic half-time, we worked with Kalani on that issue first. That was a big, most important, and he was generous in adding. So if 32 is the average for a full-time minister, 16 would be the average. Kalani has offered 18 services in person and another 4 as a service associate, so that he would be here and be involved without the all the effort that it takes to put together a sermon. So I don't want to get your expectations up, that it is a negotiation, but there's only so much wiggle room in terms of Sunday services alone. We're responsible for part of our Sunday services and will be for the foreseeable future, no matter what minister is in our pulpit.
Susan, I just have a question because you said earlier that if we did the budget first, that there was, and this whole issue came up about the renegotiation of the agreement, that could be pulled out somehow. I don't exactly know how to do that, but it sounds to me like now you're saying it's a done deal, and I mean, but it's on the agenda as an approval item.
Right.
And I think we do need to, it sounds to me like, I don't know how to do this parliamentariness, but it sounds to me like that's the one issue that people are really talking about. So that needs clarification in terms of where we're going meeting wise. The other thing is I think we need to hear from the minister.
Yes.
That's my preference, because I think we need to know before we vote where he is about this instead of talking about him.
Thank you. Do we have comments on this? So I'd like to deal with the people that are standing in line. And then I think what we do is we table the vote on this and look at the question. As I said, I wrote that one incorrectly. It's accept the renegotiated letter of agreement, because the board and the minister have come to an agreement. So now we need you to understand where we're coming from and how quickly we might be able to get out of it and onto something that would please us all a whole lot more. So if we can call on the 3 who are waiting in line.
Okay, thank you. My name's Ed Gamolka. I've been a member for, I think, about 4 years. First, I just want to commend the Board of Trustees and Reverend Kalani, and I'll add Tamara to that too, for dealing with a very difficult situation. I recognize that none of this was easy. I take Mark's point that we need a budget, and I think we need to, vote it up or down, and none of us are crazy about it. I hope that in the new year, we will look at some things, whether that be reducing the honoraria and finding the volunteers, or frankly, double counting, making sure we're not paying a fair share for people who maybe aren't associated with the church anymore, or a pledge drive, any of those things. But it just sounds like, we need to get this budget in place and then go into the new year with some plans for tweaking wherever we can, and hopefully getting back to a more reasonable financial situation. But thank you to everybody who worked and dealt with this difficult situation.
Well, I think I undid my hearing aid, but it's a problem with masks. I'm Jan Thompson, third generation UU, been a member here for almost 15 years. This would not be the first time we've accepted a budget that then got altered during the year. I think that we need to move ahead with this. Where was everybody during the question and answer? Why are we taking so much time this morning? I'm hungry. My son is sitting out here waiting for me, and I don't want to leave before we vote and everything. But let's just move this along.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I'm Carol Bloom, and I've been a member for about three or 4 years. I just want to echo what a couple of people said and offer my opinion, since that's what some folks are doing. I agree with Mark that the $18,000 that we give to the UUA would be better spent compensating our minister. And even if it only means that he would be in the pulpit for 2 more Sundays because he's already generously given more than half time, that's preferable to me. And also what some folks have said about the honoraria, I think we have a lot of people who could step up and provide some services, and I would be more interested in that. When I'm deciding whether to prioritize coming to the service on Sunday mornings, my first choice is that Kalani is in the pulpit, and my second choice is one of us is, and the guest ministers don't do that much for me, I have to say personally, and I don't think that is a good use of our money. I would rather compensate the minister more, whether that means a lot more services from him or not. It's just deserved, in my opinion.
Are there any hands on the Zoom? All right, then Kalani, there's one. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Can somebody else see it? I don't see it. If you do have a comment to make, can you raise your hand higher? Because I don't see it.
There.
Right there.
Yeah. It's either Susie or Doug. I don't know which. Is it? So yeah, go ahead.
You know, with Reverend Zolani's salary reduced to half, I think we have to consider the fact that he might leave because he has other things that he can do. You know, he's a professional in many other ways. I say this takes some drastic action. Have we talked about a fellowship? I guess if we don't pay our dues, do we become a fellowship? Certainly that money then is released. And have we considered maybe not having a musical program for a year or 2? So you don't have a music director, you use canned music. I mean, these maybe sound like far out ideas, but I'm just putting them out there.
Listen respectfully, please. All right, thank you. Okay, I think that the comment that got a clap was, we need to move along. So let's have Reverend Kalani make his statement to us, and then we probably can proceed with the vote on this, and then go back to saying, okay, whether you'll have a right to say you don't approve of this budget, but it doesn't change the fact that it's where we need to start. And I think that we are, I believe, recording this session, right? So I for one, I'm going to go back and listen to everything, and we'll start planning for a lot more involvement. I thought the Q&A sessions were great because we had a lot of people who had a chance to get involved in shared decision making, and I'm all for it. Dave?
Should we table a motion on the budget if you're going to go back to July? Table a motion.
Are you speaking to budget and the contract as part of it?
This is contract, but some budget too.
Somebody who knows better than I, does this Does this fall within,
I move to table the discussion on the budget.
all right, and there's a second to this? And we need a vote, I'm
vote,
assuming?
yes.
Okay, I think a hand vote will probably work. So all those in favor of tabling it? All right, and how are the hands up there? I guess we need to count. Be patient. Count. Somebody count up there. Sally's got her hand up.
Oh, what the? No, two hands. I have two hands. You're wrong, God.
I know.
How do we do? Somebody write it down.
16, 17, 3, 3.
Write it down. How's the count on the Zoom? Okay, I should ask for
Go ahead.
those and abstain. So are there those against this idea, please signify if it's a no? Okay, none here. And abstention?
There's three up there.
There's one abstention.
I think
they didn't take their hands down from the yay vote.
Yeah, okay. So no no's, no abstention.
One abstention.
One abstention. Okay. Got that? That's our- Oh, yeah, the online vote was 6.
In favor.
6 in favor and no other votes. Okay.
Susan, we can't hear you for note taking. So what, would you give the count again in the microphone? Thank you.
Did you write it down, Mark?
39 yes,
39 yes,
one abstention.
1 abstention.
Weren't any no.
Pardon? No
There
no's.
were
No no's. Oh.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, or President,
Yeah.
a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I move that we vote to approve a renegotiated letter of agreement with our minister for the fiscal year 2022. I'm sorry, accept. Thank you. No, the motion has been tabled. So we need another motion before Reverend Kalani speaks. Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is my brief statement concerning this meeting and the process that we've been going through for the last month. It is unfortunate the UUCLC pledge drive generated fewer pledges than we hoped. However, the last 10 years trends reveal pledges have declined in most years. The UUCLC is not alone in this plight. Many churches in the UUA and beyond are facing difficult budget decisions. Many are even shuttering. Here's a brief recap of recent events. On the week of Thanksgiving, I received an email from Susan Hitchka, the board president. The email declared the board had met privately and decided to reduce my position from full-time to half-time. She cited a drop in pledges for 2022 and little chance of increasing the number of pledges or dollars. The board requested that I renegotiate my contract to 1/2 time so they could present a balanced budget for 2022 at this meeting. We held a meeting to negotiate new terms. I agreed to work 1/2 time beginning on January 1st. I signed the agreement, the December 8th agreement, because I wanted to support the congregation. But upon further reflection, I realized it is simply unfair to me and my family. Cutting my salary by half with only 2 weeks, 1 to 2 weeks notice does not align with UU principles and values. There's also a clause in the Ministers Association Handbook, Ministers Association Handbook, UUMA, that says congregations should not fix budget deficits by cutting the minister's agreed upon salary, except as a last resort. During last week's budget meetings, members offered ways to raise my salary from 1/2 time to 3/4 time. Those included spending money from investment interest that Jack Welch raised and lowering the church's UUA gift that you heard from Mark and others. Other members cited the 10-year trend as evidence of a permanent condition here at the church. Yesterday, I requested until Monday to develop a more mutually acceptable agreement. I sent an email to Susan Hitchka. This morning, Susan emailed me and asked that I accept the agreement or resign. That feels like another limited set of options to me, and I can't resign under duress. I admit making an error by signing the agreement before hearing from the congregation. At the time, it seemed I had few options or little choice. With that in mind, I request the congregation not consider that agreement. I request the church table the budget until January 8th or the 15th. And by tabling the budget, it would provide time to renegotiate the terms of the agreement. We have worked hard together over the last 3.5 years. And we have realized many great accomplishments. You have given a lot, and so have I. And with that, we, Tamara and I, hope the congregation will be fair to us. Thank you.
All right. Oh, I don't know quite what to tell you. He sent me that note at 9:20 when I came home from a holiday party that I had decided to indulge myself in and actually do something other than church. I found that note reading. The reason I wrote back to him with his option is that we have a signed agreement. And that is a breach of contract for him to say, oh, gee, I guess I'm just not going to honor that. So I told him he either needed to start, well, you'll have to listen until I finish my statement, that he needed to work with us, that what had been happening through Q&A was a growing interest in asking the new board to consider the additional changes, possibly improvements, if in fact we can find the amount of money that's required to do it, but that it could not be done at this, 6 hours before the congregational meeting. So that was why I said if he was not intending to honor the signed agreement we have, he needed to resign. And I'll stand by that. That is where we are. So I know it's upsetting. I'm sorry it's upsetting. But it is where we are. And I think at this point, I'd like to call the vote on this. You need to vote to accept this letter of agreement, which does not mean it stays in place for a year. It means it stays in place to start the year. And the new board can consider your requests. There are a couple of ways to do that.
The letter does not say that. The letter says it's for the whole year. It doesn't say.
That's right.
It does not say it can be negotiated as first year.
It doesn't say when it has to be negotiated. It has to be renegotiated by the end of next calendar year because it's for a year. So, it doesn't state when, which means we can make that decision as a congregation based on where the money is.
May I ask a clarification question?
Obviously.
What would a no vote mean about this letter that has been signed and agreed to? If we don't accept it, what would that mean?
Means we wouldn't have a budget, and we'd probably,
We wouldn't have one today.
no, we wouldn't. But how does that fit with?
It means we wouldn't have one today.
Okay.
We still have a letter of agreement.
We have a signed letter of agreement. So your vote saying you don't like it.
We don't accept it as a congregation. What would that make the agreement null?
No.
No.
It's legally binding regardless of what we said.
Yes. But what it does for us is it establishes a line of looking at things that the board has considered, those drastic measures that have been recommended. And the board and the finance committee chose to not recommend them to you. But now if you're saying, we want you to change those, there has to be a new negotiation process. We don't have a negotiated letter of agreement for a 75% of total comp. We don't have one of those. So that would have to happen. And the board would then have to listen and prove it to bring it to you at a special meeting. So that's where it has meaning. If you are among those in this room that say, this can't stand for a year. This is too drastic and you need to figure out a way. I can't promise that we will, because the numbers we've given you are not of our making. The numbers are of the making of where this congregation has been headed. But certainly that vote, a vote saying we don't approve of this contract. Yeah, I think it would give a message to the incoming board that this needs to be a priority.
Excuse me, Susan, for the purposes of the notes, was there a motion and a second?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, there was.
Okay, who made the motion and who was the seconder?
I made the motion. Carol Bloom was the seconder.
Okay, I can't see, who?
Charlie
The person who made the motion.
I'm trying to do that. Charlie Schultz made the motion and Carol Bloom, right? It's Carol Bloom. Carol Bloom seconded.
Okay, thank you.
They're taking minutes. Our secretary has resigned from the church. So our secretary has resigned from the church. So we don't have a sitting secretary. Jan.
It's me again who wants to go home and eat, but this is a motion to accept a legal document that has already been signed. It's not to say that one side or another can't ask to renegotiate it. It was negotiated in good faith. It was negotiated with the help of regional UUA staff, and it has been signed. We don't have to accept it. You can say no. That doesn't mean that the letter doesn't still stand. You actually, none of us need to accept it. The board is coming to us out of courtesy to let us have some say in this matter, but it doesn't change anything.
All right. And I think that's probably a fair assessment, but it does change. It does change the board's thinking by having the next board. Yeah, the board that will convene in January. Mind you, when they convene in January, they'll have some work to do, like getting to know one another, getting trained in what being on the board means, and selecting officers for the new year. So I don't expect action in January, but yes, that's what this vote would mean. It would mean you're really not happy about this. So
I need to say that our bylaws say that it requires a vote of the congregation to change the minister's compensation.
nope, that's not true.
Isn't it?
No.
I thought it did.
No, they have, it says for an increase in compensation.
No, it doesn't? I'm sorry if I was wrong. I thought that it was for any change in compensation, not just increase.
All right, do you know where it is, Sal?
It's under minister.
It's under minister in the bylaws.
Yeah.
Okay, whoop, hang on, that's not bylaws, that's something somebody else said. Okay. Okay. Membership, membership, and minister.
No, maybe it doesn't say there. Maybe it's finance.
It's all right. I believe where this was addressed was in the letter of agreement.
No, I think it's in the bylaws. too,
Okay.
Susan, but that's okay.
All right. Anything that you want to discuss before we call this motion? So mind you, you're indicating to us whether or not you're indicating to us whether or not you accept this negotiated letter of agreement for the calendar year 2022. Tell you what color. So keep looking, Wally. How about purple? You still have purple, right? Purple. All right, please answer. So again, the motion on the floor is to vote to accept the renegotiated letter of agreement with our minister for the fiscal year 2022. And again, write yes, write no, or write abstain.
Well, on a quick scan, I can't find it. So I will right now admit that I was incorrect, and I will go look because I really think it's there. I just don't find it. So I apologize.
So they're working on that. All right. I can add a little point of clarification in the letter of agreement that now stands. It says,
There we
"Annual
go.
review of compensation. The Board of Trustees will review the minister's compensation annually in
Okay.
consultation with the Committee on Ministry and the Finance Committee, and will recommend adjustments to the congregation, taking into consideration such factors as merit in meeting or exceeding expectations, increases of cost of living, changes in cost of benefits, and the financial means of the congregation. The congregation shall consider such recommendations as part of the normal budgeting process and shall act upon them at the annual congregational meeting held for this purpose. So that is in the budget. So in the, yeah, I mean, but what I just said, those figures are in the budget that we'll ask you to vote on as soon as we count up this one. We do have a couple more pieces of business, and I know it's getting terribly long. I'm hoping they won't take a great deal of time. Marie, do you want to introduce the slate while we're waiting? I didn't print it out. You don't have it? Okay, it's in the, I know where to find it. It's in the light, the report from the Leadership Development Committee.
I have the other. Section of the bylaws.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is not Slate. This is the bylaws.
Yes, bylaws.
You need to leave. Yes. Do you want to do that now while we count? Okay, if I could have your attention, this is one of our newer attendees, and he is not yet a member, but has requested a chance to say something. And that is within the rules of order. So please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Ron Francie, and I'm here with my wife, Dorothy Francie. We are both ordained in the United Church of Christ and have served for 16, 17 years. And we have gone through meetings like this in the different churches where we've been. And I don't know enough information about what's really happened here, but I could only imagine if this came to me as minister, and I was asked that we need to have you pay the bill for not being able to make the bills. And if that happened to me, and it's happened to me, you know, what about the bills I have to pay?
Yes. Amen.
Okay, what about the life I have to give? And so I'm not Reverend Kalani, but if I were he, my resume would be, boom, it would be gone out there because I would not be staying here. And to be given what I'm hearing as something that was given only a few weeks, what, this is a surprise to the church that this financial problem came up? I don't think so. The pandemic's been here for 2 years, on the second year. So if you treat a pastor that way to say, you pay the bill, I don't know. For me personally, if you said, what would I do? Would I sign a contract? I think I'd have to, wouldn't I? I mean, what am I gonna do to pay the mortgage and to do this, and do that, and so forth? So I think I'd have to sign a contract. Because you think it's easy to get a job in the United Church of Christ? My wife and I, it takes probably 6 months, 7, 8, 9 months to do a search, to get involved with the process. I mean, so here, I'm gonna cut you. You either take this or you leave. I'm reconsidering myself personally, whether I'm going to be with this church. I don't know. We're both ordained in the UCC. Unitarians considering Christ is the way we put it. Okay. And so, again, I'm only a visitor here, although for as many, we've only been in town 4 weeks and we've been here 4 weeks. I don't know, we just had a little tete-a-tete, whether or not whether how this goes is whether we're staying personally. I mean, you all can make your decisions, but I know because I can feel it in my heart because I've been there.
Yes. Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a terrible decision. As you probably are aware, we've already lost out. We're going to do the introduction of the slate. The slate has vacancies in it because people decided it was too stressful and they wouldn't stand for election. So yes, this is a very rough spot. We talked to Kalani about this. We knew that he comes to the finance committee meetings, and we knew and were talking about this back in August, September, maybe. Yeah. I also talked to him about whether he'd be willing to renegotiate or whether he wanted to get that resume out there and look for other opportunities. And he said that he was committed to serve this church and he was willing to renegotiate. It was a terrible decision and we don't like it.
I didn't say that. I said I was willing to serve the church. Please don't speak for me.
Okay, I will give you the results of, there were a total of 35 yes votes, 25 no votes, and 2 abstentions. So it does pass, you did accept this, but it's clear that this is not where we want our church to be. And it's not where the board wants our church to be, nor where the finance committee wants our church to be. So, but it did pass, thank you. So at this point, the business that we have to do is we have to go back to, so I have to untable, right? And so in untabling the motion to bring the budget back to the floor, I need someone to make that motion and someone to second it.
I move we untable the motion. My name is Charlie Schultz.
Charlie Schultz moves. Is there a second? There is a second. Jillian Lang is the second. All right. I think we've had a lot of discussion. I need to know if you feel calling the question at this point is premature. All right. Let's call the question. So the question is, you approve of this budget for 2022, and let's use green, or is that yellow? What are you holding up? I'll use whatever you've got in your hand. Is that yellow or green? Yellow. It's yellow. Let's use yellow. That means go with this, but with caution, because there's a lot of concern out there and we need to involve you in solutions. Dick, I'm sorry, Dick, I can't hear you. If you want a statement, you could. I really can't hear you. Yes. Oh, we didn't take a vote on untabling it. Yeah.
It's the parliamentarian here.
All right, let's have a voice vote then, please, on untabling. All right, and now those who are no? Are there abstentions? Okay, and is there a similar hand vote from the gallery up here? A lot of folks don't have their screens on, so it would be hard to know how they're voting. Okay. Can you switch your screens on if you want to? All right. All right. Okay. So I think we are now ready to have elected. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Did we call it?
Yes, we're voting.
We're voting. Pardon?
That motion was to table it, correct?
Untable. Yeah. Yeah.
No motion to approve the budget.
Oh, well, it was when we brought it up the first time. So, yeah, that was, yeah, right. We're back to that. Thank you. Thank you.
Somebody is asking, is it a yellow bar or green bar?
I guess it's yellow. This is sort of yellow-green, but yellow. Thank you. All right. All right. Yeah, the question is, do you approve of this budget? Which, as several people pointed out, doesn't mean it can't be looked at when situations change. The amount of revenue that we expect, we got to come up with the money somewhere. While they're counting the votes, I know people are tired and hungry and concerned. We have some electing to do. And Marie, did you want to introduce? We up on the light for December. If you went down the light to find the report from the Leadership Development Committee and click on Read More, all of those are here. So
Great. Okay. I think I'm okay. Hi, I'm Marie Sauter, and I'm the chair of the Leadership Development Committee and have been on the Leadership Development Committee for 4 years. So just want to clarify, Madam President, do we want to, we also have the recognition as well. Should we get to go to the slate?
While a vote is being taken, I think.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and do the slate
Let's do
first.
the introduction.
Okay, great.
Sorry.
Good idea.
I keep
Okay.
forgetting. We'll do the introduction of the slate first for the Board of Directors and then Board of Trustees.
All right.
And then for the some candidates for leadership development.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Can you all hear me? Do I need to take this thing off? Okay. All right, is that better? Okay. I don't like it either. Okay. So I'll just start off with the Committee on Ministry did not have any congregationally elected positions vacant this year. So there are none on the slate. So I will read out the Leadership Development Committee. There are 3 two-year positions, and that's the 2-year term. Myself am on the slate, and Scott McLaughlin is on the slate, and Claire Sheehan. All right, go on to the board. Okay. And on the board, we have had some adjustments here. So there are a few vacancies and there will be opportunities for nominations from the floor. So at this point, we have Gary Cockrell, who is offered to serve for 3 years, and Chris Northcutt for 1 year. And we have 3 vacancies. I think I got that right.
There's three. There's a 2 3-year and 1 1-year. So we can accept nominations from the floor. Yes. So we have, I'll repeat the board. Gary Cockrell has offered to serve for 3 years on a 3-year term, and Chris Northcutt on a 1-year. There are 2 3-year vacancies that can be filled with nominations from the floor, and 1 1-year. I would love to accept nominations from the floor. And I will add too that the Board of Trustees, all the positions are filled by the congregation. And that's a difference from the Committee on Ministry. Leadership Development Committee is also, are all congregationally selected as well. So, and we have filled positions in the middle of the year. So there are future options if we don't fill them all today. So I am accepting, we are accepting nominations from the floor. Okay. All right. At this point, I'm not accepting any, not getting any. All right. Thank you. Charlie?
I move we accept these nominations by acclamation.
Charlie, acclamation. I don't know. Who was the second?
No.
Who was the second on that motion?
Maggie.
Maggie Locatelli.
Okay.
We're accepting those 2 slates as presented by acclamation, so I need to ask for
You can do a voice vote on acclamation.
voice vote on acclamation. All right. So let's have a voice vote on acclamation of those candidates. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yay, all right. All those opposed? Abstention? Okay, I think we're there.
That was for the votes up by acclamation.
Oh, okay.
She's just a little bit behind.
All right.
Has to type it up.
Yeah, I know.
So I think she's done a good job.
So up there, we have hands showing. They were voting. All right, all right. It is a serious and ongoing problem. Marie has had more and more, and her committee have had more and more difficulty getting volunteers to serve, especially on the board. And I think a couple of years of pretty difficult circumstances have taken its toll. People are going too much, can't do it. So we have I'm sorry, we do have the vote. We have the vote. Where is it? What color was it on?
Yellow.
Purple.
Yellow for the budget.
Oh, it's back there. Okay, cool. Yes, the vote was 45 yes, 14 no, with 2 abstentions. So budget passes. But again, it's not where we want to be. And let's hope we can take actions soon to improve the problems we talked about today, because it's more than financial. Financial is what we focus on when we do the budget, but you can also look at the holes on the board, the holes on committees. We don't have a functioning membership committee right now. Sunday services doesn't have a leader, and their committee has shrunk. We've got to revitalize this, and it will fall on all of us to do what we can and to talk with people that you know in the congregation. If you are in a position where, like like Shirley Davis, God love her, who still continues to serve on the Finance Committee, in spite of the fact that there are serious health problems in the family and she has a lot of responsibility. So we've got that kind of problems.
It wasn't actually a no on it wasn't unanimous, it was a no.
Oh, online, okay, all right. Okay, so we talked about, I told you I read you the vote. So we are back to just handing out some certificates and getting the heck to lunch? Okay, I thank all of you for being here, for sharing your honest feedback. I think there's a lot of work to do. I think we know where we want to be, but we have to look at where we are and start moving there. And I hope that we can do that together. Marie, we have some certificates. I don't know if everybody's here.
No,
at
I
this
don't think
point,
so.
But some are online.
Yep.
Gary's up there someplace, unless he left.
People are leaving, so.
Okay, this is Linda Rogers. She's You want to come up and do it?
Yeah.
I'll hand them to you. All right, thank you. This first certificate is for Linda Rogers, who's completing her work on the board. And she was here, but I don't see her anymore. Okay. Mark Zukontrak, who again? Sally Atkinson. Bob Pipkins is not here in person. I'm guessing I'm guessing something. He lives around the corner from me. I'll throw this on the floor. Okay. Oh, Lord, one more time. Okay. Oh, that's pretty. You have nice paper. Janet Pitt, who is completing a term on the Leadership Development Committee. Yeah, but. Mary Whittemore, who is also finishing on Leadership Development. Cassie Calloway, who is completing a term on the Committee on Ministry. Who is finishing his service on the Committee on Ministry. And finally, Marie Sauter, who not only is completing a term, but standing for a new one. God bless you, Marie. All right. I believe we are ready. Absolutely. We're ready for a motion to adjourn. Okay. Can we have an acclamation vote on that? All those in favor? All right. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Who made the motion and who seconded it?
Katie Fitzgerald made the motion, seconded by Charlie Schultz. All right. Thank you all.